Alright, we're good. Hello everyone, Artemu the Violet Wizard here, and today we're continuing the Pokémon Sapphire Nuzlocke. Last time we spent way too much time trying to catch a single fish that it completely ruined my plans for what I was going to be doing for the rest of that particular session, but here we're going to be making up for that, and we are going to be making our way to the next city where we're going to be facing our next gym leader. So we're back here on Route 119, because there's still a bunch of this place we have not yet been able to see for obvious reasons. So I wanted to quickly show the team that we are going to be leading with this session. Bringing quite a few of my normal Pokemon with me, and our type diversity could be a bit better, but I want to go with this squad specifically because of their levels, and with the next area we're going to, we're going to have plenty of opportunities to level up some of our other Pokemon. But yeah, we are going to be spending a good chunk of this session just making our way to the next city. So I'd recommend having your item finder ready when going through this area, because there could be a few hidden things you can find around the jungle. But yeah, I quite like that when you first enter the eastern section of the Hoenn region, the first area you visit is a jungle, which is quite the unique setting compared to what we've seen previously in the series. So this area is full of greenery. You're obviously going to encounter a lot of grass types in this area. One in particular could be quite interesting, but we'll talk about that a bit later, because we got ourselves a couple of bug catchers that we can fight at the start of this route. So this is a good opportunity to give Gladys some additional levels, which is always good, because she's been such a good member of this team. We did come very close to potentially losing her in a few of the matches we did in the last session, but she was able to pull through. Now, the gimmick with this section and with all the bug catchers here is that the bug catchers will mimic the inputs that you do in this route. So whenever you take a step forward, every time you turn to face a different direction, that will cause the bug catchers here to also make those same movements. So it's certainly the interesting little gimmick they have in this spot. But yeah, I'm really not expecting too much resistance here, since just dealing with a lot of bug types that we have previously fought before, there really isn't that much new to explain here. Yeah, I've been definitely excited to record this session here, because it's certainly been a little bit since the last session of our Nuzlockes that we've been doing. Just a bit busy with some work lately, and I want to spend yesterday just having time to myself, which is why we didn't actually have a session on that day. But I'm feeling pretty good. We should be able to knock out this area, and hopefully we should have time to challenge the next gym in this session. Which, given our current team's current levels, we should be pretty good to face the gym. Especially with some of the TMs we picked up in the last couple of sessions, as those are going to be really useful in this area. And given how my schedule is going to be for the rest of this week, I'm not expecting us to have another session until next Monday at the latest. We'll see how things go, but I'm definitely thinking we're not going to be doing more than more than one session this week. But you know, that's just the way the lava cookie crumbles. You're pretty strong. Why, thank you, random kid. Yeah, I'm still quite happy with the team we managed to build in this run. It's certainly been quite fun getting to raise up our team members. And you may have noticed that we haven't been using the fish that I caught in the last session. So yeah, in between sessions, I did try to focus on training up our Feebas, Finnegan, and even after a couple levels, he's still not showing any signs of evolving. So I don't know if we still need to reach a certain level threshold with him, or if I have completely ruined the chances of this Pokemon evolving. Yeah, as far as I know, there aren't any ways to reverse a Pokemon's condition with the Pokeblock system, so I'm not entirely sure we'll be able to get Finnegan prepared for what we're going to be, well, for what I was planning to do with him. So I was fully intending to have Feebas serve as our new main water type. And, you know, it'd be pretty thematic to have him potentially replace Filet. But with how things stand at the moment, I'm still not sure if we're gonna actually be able to evolve him. Especially because of the application I used in order to allow certain evolutions in this game. And I don't quite know how Feebas is affected from that program. Like, it says that it can affect evolutions that involve contest stats. I'm just not entirely sure if that's going to affect this game in particular. But I'll potentially figure this out as we go on. We still have a lot of this game to get through, and I'd certainly like to get some confirmation as to what exactly is our deal with our Feebas. We'll definitely wait a while before we focus on that. God, I am still quite impressed with Filet so far. Like, obviously he has a plus attack nature, so that makes him really damn strong, even by Gyarados standards, but yeah, just been a phenomenal teammate in this game. Which really goes to show just how good Gyarados in general is. It just has such high stats for the level you get it at, and it can serve you well throughout the entire adventure, especially when it gets some other moves later on that make it really good at sweeping opponents. And I'll be quite happy to see that, depending on what other Water-type Pokemon we acquire later on. So yeah, you can probably tell from what I've been trying to say these days, I kind of prefer to have Water types in my team that can use their stab moves effectively back in the Generation 3 games. So I tend to focus more on the Pokemon that have good special attack stats when it comes to Water types. Which is certainly no fault of the Pokemon, this is just how the games were programmed back in the day with regards to certain types of moves and the specific stats that they use in order to calculate damage. Because don't get me wrong, Gyarados is amazing. Starting in, well, pretty much at the very start of the series it's been great, but it got so much better with the Generation 4 games and how those had the physical special split when it comes to moves. And it's able to effectively use physical water attacks really damn well. Like, it's such a great Pokemon. I've said this before, but it really is. Then we got Brent over here. We can see him using a Surskit. I actually have encountered Surskit a few times while I was training up some of my Pokemon in the wild, which is quite nice considering the fact this is such a rare Pokemon in the original Ruby and Sapphire. And if you're playing Emerald, you cannot encounter Surskit at all. Kind of a weird choice for a Pokemon to exclude in that version of the game, but, you know, it's what they decided to do, you know? So back over here at the infamous river where we spent so much time looking for our fish. I actually want to surf over here because there's some hidden things that we should be able to grab in this area. It'll also take an opportunity to take out some more Pokemon. Very nice. So this way, if we could please get over to this fisherman. You're level 7. You're not even worth fighting because you're going to give so little experience. So let's see what this guy has. If I remember correctly, he does actually use a Feebas in his team, which is a pretty good clue that you're able to find Feebas in this area. As naturally, this is where we get registered in the Pokedex, and if you check it, you'll be able to see that Feebas can be caught on this route. It's just the process of actually obtaining this Pokemon that is incredibly difficult. Not so if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, as the location where you can catch Feebas is more likely if you fish in very specific sections of the route, depending on the time of day. Yep, he did have a Feebas in his party. It's quite the drab little fish, but, you know, it eventually becomes really good. That's why it was such a big deal that I wanted to dedicate time to try to catch this in a Nuzlocke run. And it's still up in the air if that thing's actually going to be useful to us to use. But I'll try and figure it out. Alright, got some pretty easy experience for Carl from that. But, you know, it's always good just to finish off as many trainers as you can. Sort of a thing I do in, like, all of my Pokemon playthroughs is I try to show off every single trainer battle that can be done in the overworld, as I feel like that's just a very fun thing to try. So we picked up a Zinc there. That's an item that is good for increasing a Pokemon's special defense. So I'm probably going to give that to Fillet, as you tend to have good special defense in general. And I want to show here, you can find these bushes all around this section of the Hoenn region, and you're able to make secret bases from those bushes. So that's another area where you're able to construct a secret base. So I don't know, I'll probably make a little hideaway at some point in this route going forward. Especially because we're pretty close to some areas where we can buy some more furniture, so we could easily build a pretty neat little hideaway for ourselves in the middle of an area. I thought you'd fly by catching a whole flock of bird Pokemon, then hanging onto them somehow. But it turns out there's an HM move called Fly. I wish I known about that a long time ago. So that line is pretty funny, because if we go into his house, we can see there's an entire flock of Wingull in here. I heard about a cave called the Cave of Origin. People rumor the spirits of Pokemon are revived there. Could something like that really happen? So that's an area we're definitely going to want to remember for later on. It's not really going to be that relevant to us in this session, but there is going to be some point where we're going to want to remember that location. So we grab some additional berries over here. Grab some citrus and some lepa, which are always good to have. And hello, Javier. Welcome to the stream. So there's another place where you can make a secret base. And then if we go over here, we have a pretty interesting thing we can do. So we have these railings over here that you can actually ride on with the bike. And if you have the Aqua bike, you're actually able to hop across those sections of railing that you wouldn't be able to reach otherwise. That's a cool little way of being able to access a secret area. So definitely going to want to bear that in mind, as we're going to see quite a few of those railings all throughout this section of the game. And I want to check some more things here. Yeah, that seems to be it. Oh yeah, that does offer up a bit of interesting lore implications for people going through these kinds of runs. But yeah, we'll definitely talk about that location a bit later. But for now, we got ourselves some more battles. So I'm a little worried about one of the potential fights we can do in this area because of one specific Pokemon we can run into, but I'm not too worried about that. So over here, we got ourselves a new trainer class. These are Pokemon Rangers. So these are people that are dedicated to protecting the environment as well as Pokemon in their native habitats. They'll typically use grass-type Pokemon, as you can probably expect with their profession. And yeah, just a pretty cool trainer class conceptually. I especially like that later on, they gave the Pokemon Rangers their own spin-off series that's all dedicated to, like, helping out Pokemon in the environment. Those are some pretty underappreciated games these days, I feel. Like, I only played one of the Pokemon Ranger games, which was Shadows of Almia, but that was still a very good game. I really enjoyed it a ton. You have taken a bit of damage there, Carl, so we are gonna swap you out. Don't worry, we'll get you healed up after this. Yeah, because that Roselia could definitely hit hard. It's got Magical Leaf at this point, and its special attack is pretty respectable. So yeah, that could have definitely done a ton had we not switched out. But luckily, we have Gladys to do some pruning. Definitely want to focus on leveling up Carl, as he is getting pretty close to a certain upgrade that's going to be very useful to him. Now, we are going to have to wait till level 36 for that to happen, but trust me, it's going to be well worth it. Let's heal you up. So we got plenty of lava cookies and full heals, so I'll probably be focusing on using those going forward when it comes to healing status ailments. Especially with how limited our inventory space is in this game, it would definitely be beneficial to start focusing on carrying lava cookies and full heals when it comes to restoring status. Okay, I think this is the guy I was thinking of. Yet another Pokemon Ranger, and one I believe you can actually refight later on. It's this guy, Jackson. He's got himself a Breloom. Like I said before, these guys are grass fighting type, and they're quite strong and fast. One of the other things you gotta watch out for these guys is that they have the move Counter, which is really bad to get hit by, especially if you're doing a Nuzlocke run. Which is gonna switch over to Gladys, as that thing would have hit Shari pretty hard, even if we did manage to lower its attack with Intimidate. And it'll just knock you out in one hit with a critical wing attack. God, I love you, Gladys. Yeah, that guy can really be a pain if you're not prepared for him. But we should be good here. There's definitely a lot more we can see around this route. So I believe we're not able to fully complete everything we can in this area, but we'll do our best in order to clear up everything we are able to at this current point. Because, you know, there's quite a bit to see around here. It's definitely something I really enjoy going back to these older games, as they do tend to hide a lot of good secrets in quite a few places. Especially in Generation 3, like, they make pretty good use of the environments, and just having all these different unique set pieces throughout them. Like, we've had the volcano we visited, and the surrounding area with all the falling ash. We've had a desert, now we're going through a jungle. There's definitely some really cool environments here in the Hoenn region that could only effectively be demonstrated thanks to the better performance of the Game Boy Advance compared to the original Game Boy. Ooh, I paralyzed you. That's actually pretty bad, since you most likely have guts. Never mind. We outspeed you because you're paralyzed, so we were able to take you out. Not bad, Shari. So definitely quite excited for using more of Shari, especially since there are some battles coming up where she is going to be really helpful for. So I'm quite excited for that. So I still haven't narrowed down which Pokemon I want for my final team in this game, as there are some potentially good encounters we can get later on, but believe me when I say I already have a few favorites right now that I want to see reach the end. And Shari could definitely be one of them. I like if you're in the tall grass here, the secret power has it doing magical leaves animation. It's a nice little touch there. There's still quite a few Pokemon on this route that we haven't gotten to see yet. Like, you're able to find the Oddish family here, both Oddish and Gloom, which, you know, are pretty good water-type Pokemon. Could be useful, especially in the Generation 3 games, since we're going to be dealing with a lot of water in the future. It's got Ninja Boy Takashi. You just got a Nikita. I am not worried at all. This thing has pretty poor stats, and we've already lowered your attack. So yep, take it out, Shari. Okay, you're actually able to survive that hit. I've seen that Nikita use Mind Reader on Shari, so I'm just imagining it looking at her mind, and all it hears is, fight, 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 fight! And we got a Ninjask. Okay, that one is a little bit trickier, so yeah, switch to Gladys for this one. And you're going for the double team strats. It's definitely a good reason to use Ninjask, especially with one of the moves it gets called Baton Pass, which allows it to pass on its status changes to another Pokemon. And when you combine that with its ability Speed Boost, yeah, Ninjask is really good for buffing other teammates. It's a great support Pokemon. And finishing with a Koffing. Yeah, I'm a little worried because of Gladys's current health standing, so we're going to switch to Fillet. You should be able to tank whatever this Koffing can do. Blech. Oh, come on. Dare you poison one of my Pokemon. So, we have the rain on this route, so it would be beneficial to go for Surf. However, I'm still going to use Strength, as that's Fillet's best method of attacking right now. Yep, we're able to handle that fight. You're surprisingly good! Why, thank you, kid. So I like the touch that the ninjas in this area will be disguising themselves using these, just using these sheets to cover themselves. It's quite a fun little detail here. And we gotta heal up this poison from our poor sea serpent. There you go, all better. So what I got on Mickey here. Ooh, Ultra Ball. So that's quite good. Especially if there's some rare Pokemon coming up that could be really handy for us to catch. So having one of those would be really nice. So I think we got another Bird Keeper to deal with here. Yep. It's got Hugh. And it's got a Swallow. It's like what we'd expect a Bird Keeper to have. So we're definitely going to be seeing a bit of these birds for a good while, especially with where we're going to be heading next. Come to think of it, there's some other areas that we are very close to seeing that I am very excited to get to see, depending on how this session goes. So I don't know how far past the next town we could potentially go to, but we actually could potentially skip the gym if we want. Like, our team is already about at the level we need to be in order to face the gym leader, but you're totally capable of just moving past this route and not actually doing the gym fight until later on. That is entirely doable. There are no real plot point checks you need to worry about here. But we can see that Team Aqua is over in this area now. We're standing lookout here. Hey you, stay away from the Weather Institute. It's not safe. Lookout duty is surprisingly boring. Hey you, please don't go near the Weather Institute. So we got an area here dedicated to researching the weather. Might want to look into that, especially given that Team Aqua's in this area. While I was sleeping, everyone went upstairs. So we got a bed over here we can rest at, and we also have a computer, which is definitely going to be helpful, because we got some guys we need to swap around. I'm going to save these guys for a bit later, because they're going to be useful in the gym coming up. But let's definitely swap a few of our guys around. So we're going to be dealing with some water here, so Liam's going to be pretty good. We actually do have some Zubats we got to deal with, so let's bring in Zapricorn. And then we also have to deal with the dark types, but don't really have anyone who's going to be too useful there. Yeah, I think this is a pretty good formation for this area. Actually, what am I saying? I have a steel type that can easily handle whatever dark types we have to worry about here. So yeah, let's bring in Titania. So you can replace Filet for now. Okay, this should be a pretty good team formation for this area. Yeah, this area was also quite significant when I was doing my Emerald Nuzlocke comic, as there are quite a few interesting moments that happen here, especially some evolutions for some of my teammates that I was really proud of to actually get to illustrate. God, just thinking back on those days where I was working on the comic, so good. It's definitely a lot of fun working on that, and wish I had the motivation these days to do another project like that. But I guess doing these YouTube streams has also been a very rewarding thing to get to do. So yep, it seems like Team Aqua's interested in the Weather Institute, as this area is dedicated to researching weather patterns throughout the region. So that could tie into Team Aqua's plans about expanding the oceans. Yeah, we definitely got to do something about that. Although if you kind of look into things from a more realistic perspective, there is a very low chance of, like, anything they could do, like, really working. I mean, with the way the weather system works and how water constantly evaporates, builds up in the sky, and then falls down again as rain, and just with how big the oceans genuinely are, so there's really no need to expand them any further. Yeah, these guys' motivations is really weird. I feel like Team Magma's motivations are a lot more reasonable, since their whole deal is about expanding the land masses on the planet, which, you know, would give more room for people to build more habitats. There'd be more farmland for food to grow, more habitats for Pokemon to inhabit. I feel like just generally Team Magma has a better motivation for doing what they do, whereas Team Aqua is just like, "Arr, we love water!" That's just kind of how I feel with regards to these guys. I definitely like the aesthetic of these guys and how Team Aqua are all dressed in pirate gear, but yeah, their motivations are pretty shallow, much like their team selection. I wish these guys use more water-type Pokemon. Like, just imagine running into, like, Whalmer and Corphish, and some of the other water Pokemon we'll eventually get to see on these guys' teams. Which does make me a little disappointed, because Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire do add more Pokemon to the villainous team roster. And what does Team Aqua get as a new Pokemon they can use? Muck. I am not kidding, they use the Grimer family. Which, like, I guess it represents, like, water pollution, which is also pretty fitting for their brand, but come on. There are so many fitting water Pokemon you could have used on your teams, but instead they just only use the Carvanha line. That is definitely why when I did my comic, I made it a point of having as many water-type Pokemon being used by Team Aqua throughout it. I feel like that definitely did a lot to improve just everything with these guys. Alright, our team should be good for this next fight. So let's take on the big lady at the end. Ha 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 ha! You're going to meddle in Team Aqua's affairs. You're either absolutely fearless, simply ignorant, or both. You're so cute, you're disgusting. I'll put you down, kitty. So our last opponent here is Aqua Admin Shelly. Whether you're playing the original games or Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Shelly's design is so good. God, I love her. But yeah, we got ourselves another opponent to take out. And really, level 28 Carvanha. You're the main boss of this area, and we just finished dealing with a level 31 Slacking as our last major boss fight. This really is not that formidable. Come on. Go ahead for the Thunderbolt since we don't have to worry about Intimidate lowering anything of note on Zappy. Ooh, got a Paralysis. That's good. And now we're swaggered. Okay, we are just gonna switch out. So that's really not gonna be doing anything for us. I mean, I do have a flute that we could use to cure our confusion, but we're not gonna worry about that. So let's take it down with our own sleazebag Mickey. Yeah, you can easily outspeed a paralyzed Mightyena. That's why I felt like that'd be a good course of action. You're disgustingly strong. So if you're playing Ruby and Omega Ruby, you would be facing, depending on the version actually, in Ruby you would be facing an Magma admin named Courtney, whereas you would be facing the Magma admin Tabitha in Omega Ruby. Kind of an interesting choice between the different versions. We got meddled with unexpectedly. We're out of options. We'll have to pull out. But this is the last you'll see of Team Aqua. We have other plans. Don't you forget it. Thanks. Thanks to you, we're safe. Might be an odd way of thanking you, but take this Pokemon. Huh, you don't seem to have any room for this Pokemon. Yeah, this is definitely something I don't like about the older games, when someone is going to give you a Pokemon, but you don't have any room in your party. It's like, just send it directly to the PC. It's not that big of a deal. It shouldn't even take that long to program. Like, come on. Let's swap out Gladys here. And then we'll go grab this thing. So by helping out the researchers here, we get ourselves Castform. That Pokemon changes shape according to the weather conditions. There's plenty of them in the Institute. Go ahead and take it. So this Pokemon is fairly unique. Castform is a normal type Pokemon that is all about weather. Its forecast ability will change its appearance when it's raining, when it's sunny, or when it's hailing. For some reason, it does not have a sandstorm form. But I guess that kind of makes sense. It's meant to be a water particle. But yeah, this thing's whole deal is changing its appearance as well as its typing with the weather. And it plays really well with one of the moves it gets called Weather Ball, which also changes its typing and intensifies in power when there is weather in effect. So that could be quite interesting to use. Castform's stats are honestly pretty poor by this point in the game, but it's got a cute little gimmick. It's certainly a Pokemon that would be fun to challenge yourself with. And, you know, it could be a good support Pokemon, like being able to set up the weather for another teammate could be really darn helpful. Alright, considering the next thing we're going to be dealing with, I definitely want to bring Filet into our party. Alright, we got someone to handle fire, someone to handle water, someone to handle grass. Yeah, I think we should be good. Yeah, definitely want to bring in Granite in a bit, but I feel like this formation's pretty good. Yeah, one of the other things you want to remember with this cast form is that it always comes holding Mystic Water. That is a held item that increases the damage of water-type moves. Definitely worth it to grab. That is a very, very good item. Especially in this game, since there are so many water types that you will want to grab. Oh, completely forgot about this, but we picked up a Calcium. That improves special attack, so let's give that to Liam. Because you're definitely going to make use of that. Just let me have a moment to check our inventory here, because we do have a few areas coming up. Okay, we should have enough inventory space if we find some more items. But yeah, besides that, there's not much else to the Weather Institute. Actually, let's heal up a little bit. You can talk to the NPCs around here, but they don't really have anything else of note to say. Now, this moment here is a little bit different in the remakes with regards to what Shelly and Tabitha are doing in this area compared to the originals. But that definitely plays into some of the changes made in those versions of the Hoenn games. It's not anything we really need to worry about here. As we can see, there is a hidden item by the water, so we'll definitely want to remember that. Actually, we have full access to the water over here, so let's just take care of this now. So there's a lot we can see along this river. And yes, this is an area where you can encounter Feebas. So if you haven't encountered it in the previous section of this route, you could also fish for it here. And if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, fishing underneath this bridge during a certain time of day is practically the best area to catch Feebas in that particular game. Just want to make note of that. Alright, so while we're exploring the rest of this area, what's some other things that we can talk about? So, currently, what I have been doing is, I felt like revisiting Animal Crossing New Horizons, since a new update came out for that game pretty recently that added quite a few quality of life improvements, as well as some new content that I was quite happy about. Ooh, guess we could talk about this. So, over here in the jungle, you can encounter Tropius. This is quite a interesting Pokemon. It's grass flying, and Its stats are pretty average, but it's certainly a good Pokemon if you're looking for an HM user, because it can learn a lot. In fact, I think it can learn practically every HM that's not related to water, so that could definitely be pretty helpful. In terms of Nuzlocke's, yeah, its stats are pretty average, but it's still pretty decent for what it is. At this point, you probably already have a grass type in your party, but it could certainly be helpful if you give it the right stuff. I think it's a good Solar Beam user, when we'll eventually gain access to that move. Yeah, it's definitely one I like. I remember back when I did my Pokemon Platinum streams, I actually caught a Tropius to use as a HM user during that run, and very nice to have her around. It's definitely a good time. So down here you can pick up a Leaf Stone. So that item is integral if you want to evolve Nuzleaf and Gloom into their final forms. Though in the case for Gloom, it gives it one of its potential forms. So you can use that to evolve Nuzleaf into Shiftry, which is certainly a good choice. I could highly recommend that. And you can also evolve Gloom into Vileplume, which is quite a good grass poison type. Yeah, I can easily recommend either of those options if you're able to get them. Though we don't currently have either of those Pokemon, so nothing we gotta worry about. Yep, it's time to move on.
Hoenn, where were you? I was looking for you. How much stronger have you gotten? Let me check for you. Ready with your Pokemon? Of course you are. Go!
So we got ourselves another battle against May. And as you can clearly tell from my tone, I'm not as worried about this May encounter as I was for when we initially fought her back on Route 110. So that battle was rough because we had so few options for dealing with her Pokemon team at the moment. But here, we got options for days. We just take out that Wailmer instantly with Zapricorn, and then we got two more to deal with. Alright, going for Combuskin immediately. That thing is level 31, so it is quite beefy, but we should be good. Let's go to Filet. They should be handle anything this Combuskin could do, cause Filet is resistant to both fire and fighting attacks. It does have Bulk Up to boost its damage, but we shouldn't have to worry too much about that. Especially because you're weak to water, and it's currently raining. Let's go for Surf. Yeah, this is just gonna annihilate this Combuskin. Given how much trouble this thing caused us way earlier in our adventure, I am very happy to just annihilate it in one hit. That is so good. And then finally we got ourselves a Shroomish. We're just gonna strength it. Like, why is this thing not evolved? You can get this thing evolved at level 23. Yeah, not looking so good for you here, May. There we go. Another fight is down.
Acha! Hoenn, you're so strong. I was worried you might be struggling with your training.
Nope, I'm good.
But I had absolutely nothing to worry about. Keep it up. And here, I have a present for you.
HM02.
Use Fly and your Pokemon will instantly carry you to any town you've already visited. But to use Fly, you have to get the gym badge from Fortree City. That's important, so don't forget. You should fly home and visit Little Root for a change. I bet your mom's worried about you, Hoenn. Well, let's meet again somewhere.
So now that we've had that encounter, we got ourselves yet another attack that we can talk about. Fly. This is pretty much the flying equivalent of Dig. You spend a turn going up into the air, in which case you are completely immune to damage from most attacks, and then on the second turn, you deal damage. It's quite good compared to everything else in Gladys's moveset, so yeah, we'll give it a wing attack. This is slightly less reliable because it does have only 95 accuracy compared to what we had before, but, you know, this should still be pretty darn good for us to use. And don't really want to say too much about Gladys's usefulness from here on out, but that pretty much is the strongest move Gladys can get. Well, besides Facade and combining that with her ability Guts, oh boy, that is gonna be something. For now, we got ourselves a few other things to do before we are done this route. We got a little bit left and then we'll be in the next town, but we're not gonna worry about that right now. Just gotta deal with some more ninjas. Titania is just gonna eat everything up. So these guys will only use the Nincada line as well as Coughing. So that makes Titania really good to use against these guys due to being a Rock Steel type. She pretty much will resist anything they can do. Yeah, it definitely makes me really happy that we got ourselves Titania here. And I'm very happy we were able to get her up to Lairon, because it's such a good design. One of my favorite intermediate stage Pokemon. But of course, we still got another evolution to look forward to. And believe me, I am really hyped for when that happens. It's gonna be a little while before we get there, but trust me, it's a great one. And over here we got Hideo. We're dealing with a Coughing on this guy. Yeah, nothing we really gotta worry about. Just let Titania bash these balloons aside. Really? That didn't get the KO. That's pretty nasty since Titania's moves in general are pretty inaccurate. But we should be good. Yeah, we're able to land that takedown. That's good. And then what else we got? Another Coughing. Oh, come on, Titania. You can hit this thing. It's just a floating ball. Also, you actually have a tail now, so using Iron Tail's more thematic. Yeah, it's so funny to me that Aron learns Iron Tail before it actually evolves into a stage that has a tail. That's always been pretty funny to me. Come on, I do not want to switch out because you're the best Pokemon for dealing with Coughing. Could you just use Self-Destruct? Like, at this point, that's the best way to end this fight if you just do that, because Titania can easily soak up the damage. Wow, this is just really bad. Come on. There we go. God, after all those smoke screens, we were able to pierce through and take it out. Good work. I bow to your superiority. So over here, we can find ourselves some Pomeg berries. These are, of course, based on pomegranates. So they work like the Kelpsy berries in most games, where they can lower the effort values of certain attacks. Well, of the effort values of certain stats, I mean. But yeah, those are quite good. So I remember back in Emerald, there was another secret you can find over here, but I guess it's not in Ruby and Sapphire. Oh well. So with that, we are now in Fortree City. Very happy to be here because we got ourselves a whole gym we got to deal with in this area. As well as some other things that'll be quite nice to see. Talk to some of the locals. Yeah, I mentioned some interesting things, especially relating to some multiplayer. Oh yeah, this guy will tell you about trainers who want rematches that you can check with your Pokénav. It was quite useful for training up my team in between sessions. Especially because it's a reliable way to grind up money. Especially because you get the amulet coin around the same time that you get this feature. God, it's so good. So I'm actually going to swap Liam out, as you're not going to be too good in this next section of the game, for reasons that will become very apparent. And I think that's pretty good for everyone else. Alright, let's move you up a tad. So definitely going to want to focus on any Pokemon we got that are super effective against flying types. So over here we got ourselves a treetop city, where we have homes built in the canopy of this jungle. Quite the unique setting. I quite like the look of this place a lot. I'd actually like to live in a place like this. It'd certainly be very fun to get to spend time in this area. So we're able to buy Ultra Balls now that we have gone this far. So these are going to be very useful for catching some Pokemon we'll be encountering later. And we're also able to buy Hyper Potions. Kind of not worth it because they restore 200 HP, which is well beyond anything that our current Pokemon have at the moment. Like, we still have Pokemon that haven't broken the 100 HP threshold. But yeah, definitely stock up on Ultra Balls at this point. They're going to be very integral for catching some of the later Pokemon we'll be seeing. And how about we take a moment to deposit some of the items we've been picking up, as I don't feel we're going to be needing any of these at the moment. So we'll deposit Leaf Stone, and we'll also put away our PowerPoint restoring items, as I want to save those for a bit later. Okay, so Fortree City. What are we able to do in this area? Well, definitely check around, because there's quite a bit to see. Hi, this is Pokemon I'm looking for. I want a Pikachu. Do you have one? Would you trade it for my Skitty? That is a very bad trade, and I do not recommend that. But that does show that there are Pikachu in this game we can catch, though it's going to be a little while before we can actually see them. Their hidden powers are roused by living in natural environments. Let this old woman see if your hidden power's awoken. I hold a coin in my hand. Have I palmed in the right hand or the left? Want to say right? So I believe the sequence you want to answer right the first 2 times and then left the final time. So that gets you the TM for hidden power, which I believe I've gone over previously. It gives your Pokemon an attack with a random type and a power depending on the Pokemon's specific value. And yeah, it could be pretty nice, but it's pretty unreliable to just try to figure out just which Pokemon has a certain hidden power. Oh, this guy... Why were you smelling me? Go, bird Pokemon! Huh, good for you. I want to go to the Pokemon gym, but something's blocking the way. After all the bother I went through training on Route 120. Wait, hang on, let's check on that. Yeah, if we try to approach the gym, there's something in our way that we can't see. Might want to remember that for later. So this house is quite nice if you want to build secret bases. As in here, we're able to buy furniture. This could be very nice just to customize your area with whatever you want. So I'm going to go ahead and buy a... what am I thinking here? Given the kind of natural environment we have around here, let's go for... We'll buy the comfort desk. I know I'm kind of wasting money here on something that's not really necessary for the Nuzlocke run, but screw it. I just want to have a little base that I can fully customize whenever I want. So able to buy both chairs as well as desks. So the chairs don't really do anything, but the desks are good because you can put Pokemon dolls on top of them. So that is very nice. Also, that area is pretty nice, as that is the place where the NPC Air Rune would be stationed if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Again, there's a lot of little touches between the different versions of these games that I quite like. It really makes every different version of the Gen 3 games feel unique. As you got Ruby and Sapphire, then Emerald, which changes up a lot, and then Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire also change up a lot from the initial Ruby and Sapphire in a lot of ways. And also do some interesting spin on some things established in Emerald, as well as some things from some of the Generation 3 movies, if anyone's familiar with those. Yeah, I don't know, I just really like these games a lot, and it's fun to think about all the different changes between the different versions. But anyway, got a Parasol Lady we can deal with over here. Getting ourselves a quick and easy battle to deal with. At least this one is staying with the theme and actually using water Pokemon. Unlike that one that has a Numble for some reason. Yeah, I don't get that. I'll be beating Clarissa. Get ourselves some good experience for the next gym. And we got ourselves a little hideaway we can find over here by using Cut. I don't know why they put this row of cut trees over here, since you only need to use Cut once to access this area. But you're able to get a rare candy. That's always good. Definitely want to stock up on those. Especially nice to see between streams whether we are in a good position to try and evolve our thing. So we see there's also something invisible over here preventing us from accessing that item. So yeah, we definitely got a lot of these in this area. Also, we got a new route here, which could have something very nice for us to see. And we can also run into Linoone again. Yeah, I'm not too worried about these guys. There is nothing you can do to Titania, so we'll just take you out for the free experience. Bam! Really? Well, I guess Titania still is a ways away from reaching her full potential, but still. So that guy had a berry on him. So it could be quite good to use Thief on the Linoone around here in order to take berries. Certainly a good way to get those items. But you are not what I want to look for in this area. By the way, I'll address the reporters very soon. I just want to check this area. Okay, there's a revive, so we can sell that for money. Okay. Alright, with these two. Definitely want to bring Granite in here. And let's do this. Oh, you're Hayden. Hi. Remember us from last time? Show us how much stronger you become. Okay, cue interview. So this is the third point where you're able to encounter Gabby and Ty. After this point, they will reset themselves back to their initial position back on Route 111. So that's good to remember should you ever... Alright, Granite's actually not a great choice for this. Oh boy. Especially what that Magneton could potentially do. Oh boy. Makes me wish that Titania had Protect on her. I think for now we'll just focus on taking out this Loudred, and then we'll see what else we can do. I'm pretty much fine to use Rollout, so eventually that should be able to handle the Magneton if we get it up enough. Yeah, that thing is able to penetrate Titania's defenses, but seriously, we did no damage that entire... God. Okay, guess we'll go for... Oh, damn, this thing has Magnet Pull. We can't switch Titania out. God, things are not going my way right now. Okay, I definitely want to set up the rollout, so there's nothing we can do but heal up Titania and then have Granite try to roll out our enemies. Okay, you didn't go for the attack on Titania, so we're good there. Come on! 2 turns in a row where we couldn't do any damage. Come on. Really? You flinched again? These guys, I swear. Shouldn't have to worry too much about damage to Granite, but I'm still worried about Titania, since that Magneton has a really good special attack. Easily one of the best electric types you can get in the game, especially when you factor in its resistances. Okay, Granite's begun to roll out the Magneton. So we should be able to take you out in a couple turns. We just got to keep Titania healed up, and we should be fine. Yeah, keep Sonic booming. There is nothing else you can do to us, Magneton. Given what you have, we could go for Rock Tomb on Magneton and see if we can lower your speed. Because this thing does outspeed Titania and Granite. Oh, come on. Lousy robot. Alright, you should be going down the next turn. So, regardless of what happens here, we should be fine. Ow. It's definitely a bit of a slower battle, but we were able to pull through. And level up on Titania. So only need, I believe, 9 more until your next evolution, so that's good. Yeah, sure, we'll have a... Honestly, that battle was a bit annoying. So what we got here? It was a bit of a hustle. So we look forward to fighting those guys again eventually. But we're not going to worry about that. So, for potential encounters we can do in this area, there is one Pokemon in particular that I definitely want to look out for. So, we'll most likely want to hang around the grass a bit to see if we can get it to appear. Oh, there it is! Absol! This guy is awesome. We got ourselves a Dark-type Pokemon that has really damn good physical attack. Unfortunately, Dark is a special type in this game. So yeah, this thing is kind of weird. It's both really good, but also has some unfortunate circumstances that prevent it from being able to reach its full potential. It's still a great Pokemon, and wow, I actually switched out to you because I was hoping to do Thunder Wave, and I forgot you don't have Thunder Wave. Whatever, let's just go for Ultra Balls and see if we can get this thing. But yeah, Absol is real good if you're able to get it set up properly. Like, this thing is able to get Swords Dance and a hell of a lot of good physical attacks. It is super good with the proper setup. Absol, the disaster Pokemon. Absol has the ability to foretell the coming of natural disasters. It lives in a harsh, rugged mountain environment. This Pokemon very rarely ventures down from the mountains. So what are we gonna call this lady? Think of a potential name we could do. Spinkin, we could call you nemesis. Absol also has some pretty tragic lore. Like, this Pokemon is specifically one that has the ability to foretell disasters by sensing vibrations in the air using its horn. And it will try to seek out people to try and warn them about natural disasters, but it often gets blamed for the disasters that happen, so it's been seen as it just gets this negative reputation where all it's trying to do is help. It's quite the interesting Pokemon. I really like the lore. It's very tragic and adds a lot of depth to this thing. And also its design is freaking awesome. Like, there's a reason this Pokemon got popular enough to get not one, but 2 Mega Evolutions. So yeah, that is what we can say on that. So we head over this way. Well, look, it's our buddy Steven, and something else blocking the way. I like you can see its shadow on the bridge, even though you can't actually see it. Hayden, hi, it's been a while. There's something here you can't see, right? Now, if I were to use this device on the invisible obstacle... No, rather than describing it, I should just show you. That would be more fun. Hayden, are your Pokemon ready for battle? Yeah, sure. Hayden, show me your true power as a trainer. Steven, use the Devon Scope. And that triggers a battle against a wild Kecleon. So you're freely able to catch Kecleon in this area. They can rarely be found in the grass in the jungle around here, but you're also able to encounter them in these select spots. And it would certainly be nice to... Wow, really? Yeah, I kind of don't want to rely on rollouts if we're just going to be hit by confusion here. Let's see what Granite can do, and if things get dicey, we'll switch out. Magnitude 8. Ah, that's pretty good. So yeah, you're freely able to catch Kecleon from select spots whenever you notice that there is something invisible blocking your way. However, I wouldn't really recommend using this Pokemon. Its stats are pretty poor. It does learn a good variety of attacks, as you would expect a normal type to get. But yeah, it's still pretty unremarkable compared to what we have encountered previously. It's a cool Pokemon conceptually, I just wish it got a lot more. I see, your battle style's intriguing. Your Pokemon have obviously grown since I first met you in Dewford. I'd like you to have this Devon Scope. Who knows, there may be other concealed Pokemon. So now we got the Devon Scope, we are now freely able to uncover Kecleon in the areas. Well, let's meet again somewhere. Damn, that guy just leaving in style. So yeah, that's taken care of. You're now freely able to move to the south and explore some more of this area. However, we got ourselves a gym that we're able to fight, so we're going to be taking that on very soon. However, I do want to gather a couple things in this area before we vamoose. So we run into yet another Kecleon here. Again, this is why I want to search the grass to see if we can get an Absol, which we did, which is good. There we go. That takes care of another one of those lizards. We can grab a nest ball. So I believe that has a better rate at catching Pokemon that are lower level than your current Pokemon. And if we head over here, we got ourselves a pretty remote area, the Scorch Slab. This area is good for only one thing, and that is acquiring a TM. There aren't even wild Pokemon you can catch in this area. But still pretty useful to come here if you're looking to try and build a certain set with your Pokemon's moves. As that TM we picked up contains Sunny Day. So that will instill weather that will boost fire attacks by 50% and also will decrease the damage of water attacks by 50%. Is quite the good weather condition. And it could also be quite useful with some other things, as there are Pokemon that benefit from having certain abilities or certain moves besides fire that can see a good benefit from this. It's just a really good weather condition in general, is what I'm trying to get at. But with all that taken care of, let's check on our newest recruit, Nemesis. So you are Brave Nature! Ooh, that increases the damage of physical Oh, that's so good. So you're gonna be a bit slower compared to other Absol, but you are quite formidable. It could actually be worth training you up. Now, we do have to watch out, because we're not gonna have reliable Dark-type Stab, since that relies on your special attack. But that is really damn good. That is a very nice Pokemon we could bring into our ranks. So we're not going to be using you just yet, but I would like to train you up in between sessions, because that is such a good nature. I still feel like Shari will definitely see some good use, especially because you have Intimidate. But, I don't know, doubling up on Dark really isn't that bad, especially with one of the areas coming up. Alright, so what we need to do, I don't recommend having any Pokemon that are weak to flying, as well as any Pokemon that would not be able to strike flying types. So Blocky isn't going to see much use here. Let's actually bring in Shari, because I know of one specific Pokemon where lowering attack could be really good. Besides that, everyone else should be pretty good to go. Alright, and as a little bit of a warning for what we're going to be doing next, I would also recommend teaching one of your Pokemon Ice Beam. Now, for current roster, we don't exactly have a reliable Pokemon to teach Ice Beam to. We could definitely give it to Fillet, but obviously Fillet's special attack isn't going to be the greatest. I mean, it's 59, which is pretty darn good. But compared to what our other offensive stats are looking like, yeah, it's certainly doable, but probably not going to worry too much about that. I mean, we are freely able to buy Ice Beam TMs by going to the game corner, so yeah, it's not too much of a waste to give it to Fillet for the time being. Again, this is why I really wanted to see if we could train up our Feebas for this gym. But it's not in the cards right now. Fortree Gym Leader Winona is a master of Flying-type Pokemon. She's waiting at the back of this gym behind the rotating doors. She's waiting for new challengers or trying to take wing. God, that's making me think of this one certain video. You know, the one where someone is describing, like, female Sonic characters a certain way, and just, God, what a weird video. So, in the Fortree Gym, we are, of course, dealing with flying Pokemon. And these guys, we really don't have to worry too much about things around here. Just have yourselves some Pokemon that are able to do super effective damage, and you should be good. So what would be really good here, I definitely recommend bringing in rock types, as they're able to do super effective damage as well as resist, as well as electric types. You're freely able to get an electric type from New Mauville, so that pretty much gives you a pretty easy win button against most of the Pokemon in this area. So you do gotta watch out for some of the fights around here, though. Especially from certain Pokemon we could potentially encounter. Like, we've seen the Wingull line a good deal throughout this adventure, and with them being part water, that could mess you up if you're trying to use rock types. Could you not put me to sleep, Swablu? I know you don't have anything that's really going to affect granite, but come on, that's annoying. Let's just blue flute you awake. Like I said, ice is a good type to use in this area, though sadly we're not able to encounter any ice-type Pokemon before this gym. I mean, you could potentially go farther along in the region, but it's really not worth it waiting that long just to get an ice type. You're much better off just teaching Ice Beam to a water type, or even one of your normal types, and you should be able to handle anything in this gym that way. And of course, since flying types have a natural immunity to ground type attacks, I would recommend not bringing ground types into this area. Unless you happen to teach them Rock Tomb or something that would be able to help them out here. Otherwise, they're going to stay grounded and not be able to do too much damage to the enemies around here. But we should be pretty good. Okay, so naturally with a puzzle in this area, we got these turbines that we gotta hit in order to maneuver through this area. And you definitely want to be careful around here with moving the turnstiles. Why did I say turbine? That doesn't make any sense, because they're not fans. Sorry, I'm thinking of a certain other flying type gym that has turbines in them. Yeah, we shouldn't have to worry about any of that. Let's just bulldoze our way past these birds. Very good work, Granite. That's a shame. In the Generation 4 games, if you get a Graveler to level 33, it would learn the move Earthquake, which would be really good to have for some of the fights later on, but sadly it's not in the cards right now. I'm not too worried about what this Swellow's gonna do, so we're just going to keep going for rollout. It is gonna double team, but there's not much else that we need to worry about. There we go. So that takes out that big bird. Very good. Alright, now that you're taken care of, how about we give Zapricorn a chance to shine here? And we're gonna go ahead and heal up Granite, because he could be useful in a few other fights coming up. Then again, given what the gym leader has, you're actually not gonna be too useful. Now, this last part could be a bit tricky if you're not prepared for it. So definitely want to move the turnstile in a certain position to open up the path here. And if you're not paying attention, yeah, this one could definitely give you some trouble. Yeah, I was definitely expecting to see a Wingull here at some point. And that's why we have Zapricorn. Yeah, if you have an Electrode, it's a very easy win button here. Because it's so fast, it's going to outspeed everything you're going to encounter in this gym. And Stab Thunderbolt hurts like a bitch. So it's so good for clearing up the gym trainers here. And pretty good against the gym leader. Alright, you're level 34. That actually makes you higher level than the ace of our main adversary here. Though that's not going to help too much considering what our opponent's going to be, so... yeah, we'll definitely talk about this when we get to it. It was too much of a load for me to bear. You silly trainer, there are no bears around here. There's only birds. Just want to hit you there, and that opens up the path to the gym leader. Woo! Very good. Okay, so what are we gonna do here? So we're gonna lead with Titania. I feel like it'd be a pretty good lead here. And I'm gonna go ahead and teach Ice Beam to Fillet. Because trust me, Ice is really, really good for this area. Be sure to pick up the Ice Beam TM. It is going to be integral to this fight. Yeah, let's get rid of Leer. We don't need to worry about that. I would have liked to teach this move to a certain other water-type Pokemon we had, but we'll worry about that later. For now, we got this to deal with. Okay, we should have a good supply of items. And yep, let's do this.
I am Winona. I am the leader of the Fortree Pokemon Gym. I have become one with bird Pokemon and have soared the skies. However grueling the battle, we have triumphed with grace. Witness the elegant choreography of bird Pokemon and I.
Facing the wings of Fortree, Winona. She's going to be leading with a Swellow. However, if you're playing Emerald, she actually leads with a Swablu, of all things. So we're going to start just by hammering away at this thing. Shouldn't be able to take a Rock Tomb. Okay, you just barely managed to hang on, but that's fine. We just finish you with our next couple of hits. So yeah, this gym is pretty notorious within the Pokemon community, as it is generally considered a potential run-ender because of one specific Pokemon on Winona's team that we will be seeing pretty soon. But yeah, this fight is pretty tough. For anyone familiar with the Nuzlocke videos that Team 4-Star did back in the day, they actually wiped in their Emerald Nuzlocke to this gym. It's that tough. There it is. Her strongest Pokemon is Altaria. This thing is a dragon flying type. So you want to hit this thing with ice if you want to maximize the damage to this thing. And also watch out because it has Earthquake. That is a 100 base power ground type attack. So if you're not prepared, your rock and electric type Pokemon will just get one shot by this bird. And she also has Dragon Dance to increase her attack and speed. If you're going at her in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, she can also boost her defenses with Cotton Guard, making her even worse to deal with. However, Fillet was able to take it out. Yeah, I do not understand why she didn't heal her Altaria. She was in healing range, so weird. But yeah, we dealt with the worst of what we can expect from Winona. Now we just gotta deal with the rest. Pelipper is basically here to deal with any rock types you might have. But you can easily zap it with electricity to take it out. Bam! And then the final Pokemon on our team is Skarmory. Definitely one of the more defensive Pokemon on these gym leader teams. However, it's got very poor special defense, it's weak to electricity. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Winona's defeated.
Never before have I seen a trainer command Pokemon with more grace than I. In recognition of your prowess, I present to you this gym badge.
All targets eliminated. Thank you, Zappercorn. And with that, we got the Feather Badge. Very nice.
With the Feather Badge, all Pokemon up to level 70, even those received for trades, will obey your every command. You'll also be able to use the Agent Move Fly outside of battle. And this is a gift from me.
Finally! I have had to walk all across this region just in order to take care of things that I wanted to do. in between sessions and during stream sessions. So now we have an easy, reliable way to be able to fly to different locations. God, I'm happy for that. And we also get another TM. TM40 contains Aerial Ace. Its speed, no Pokemon should be able to avoid it. So Aerial Ace has the same power as Wing Attack, but it is always guaranteed to hit. It is one of those types of moves where accuracy doesn't really factor in. It will always hit regardless of whether your opponent has increased their evasiveness or whether your accuracy is lowered. It is such a great move. With that taken care of, we are sitting pretty good here. Now that we got ourselves a new gym badge, I would definitely like to move a couple Pokemon around here. So let's give Granite a break. We could switch Blocky back into the party. Yeah, I think Shari can also take a break. And maybe we could give Zepricorn a bit of a break. Thinking about what we're going to be doing in a bit. You know what? We can bring Mickey back into the party just so that you can potentially find us some items. So what we're going to be doing for the remainder of this session, we're going to be exploring the rest of Route 120. Because there's definitely a lot we can see in this area, and we'll definitely want to grab as many things as we can. Also be a good idea to heal the team after that gym battle. But yeah, if you're not prepared for Winona, she could be really deadly. Like, that Altaria is such a pain to deal with if you don't have Ice Beam. Because that's the best move for dealing damage to that bird. Otherwise, you're just going to be practically doing not very effective damage, since the dragon cancels out the flying type's weaknesses to electricity. And you don't want to send a rock type out against that thing because it will just earthquake it. Yeah, that thing is a pain if you're not prepared for it. But we managed to best the bird keepers of this area. And with our new Fly HM, we can freely travel to any town we have previously visited. Definitely going to be pretty useful if we want to backtrack to areas we have previously been to. But for now, we're going to see the rest of this area. Also, kind of weird on the map display that it doesn't show the name of specific routes. But I guess it's not that important since you're not actually able to fly to a specific route. This isn't Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Yeah, that's another thing they added in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire that I find really cool. You can actually fly to specific routes. So you don't have to go to a town and then travel a certain distance in order to get to that route you want to visit. That's a very cool feature. But with all of that taken care of, we got ourselves quite the lengthy route we got to do, and then this should be where we are going to be closing things off in this session. But trust me, we got a lot we still got to talk about. So we can please get rid of this Linoon here. Titania, come on, you're slipping, girl. It's gonna be like that, isn't it? We have missed 5 Iron Tails in a row. There we go. And we managed to one-shot it. Thank you, Titania. So, what I wanted to say before, something else I want to mention, In the remakes, the Scorched Slab that we saw before has a lot more significance as that area gets expanded on greatly. And it's pretty necessary if you want to capture certain Pokemon in the post-game. Trying to be coy about that, but it's certainly a good treat to explore that area if you're playing the remakes. But over here, we got ourselves another new encounter here. This is Natu. So this guy is a Psychic Flying type. Quite the unique Pokemon compared to what we've seen before. It's fast, it's a very strong special attacker, but its moves are honestly kind of crap in this game, and it doesn't really get good until much later on. Still a pretty decent Pokemon if you're able to get it with a good set, but yeah, kind of awkward to recommend in this game. You soared above me. Yes, I did, sir. Alright, now we leveled out Titania. Let's give Blocky a chance in the spotlight. We haven't used him this entire session, and I would certainly like to fix that. So over here we got ourselves another route that's going to be constantly raining. So that's also something to consider while you're in this area. Ooh, got ourselves an Angelica over here. Ooh, we're probably going to want to switch out Blocky here because we got ourselves a cast form. So this guy will turn straight into a water type because of this route. Now, it could potentially change its typing depending on the weather. Yeah, like that. It can do Sunny Day to turn itself into a fire type. So now we gotta switch Liam out. Trust me, this thing can really hurt if you're not prepared for it. Let's go to Filet. I feel like Filet's probably gonna be our most reliable Pokemon to use against this thing. So we don't have to worry about super effective damage if it hits Filet here. Yeah, that is a sun-boosted 100 base power fire attack coming from that cast form when it does Weather Ball in this weather. That hurts. It's obviously not the strongest Pokemon, but it does have some nice utility. And I was actually using it back when I did a Ruby Nuzlocke. God, so freaking long ago. That's like the second Nuzlocke run I ever did, and to this day, I actually have not finished that particular run. I think I'm at the point where I just need to train up my team to face the Pokemon League in that game, so yeah, I could simply go back to it and actually finish that run, but I don't have much motivation to do that at the moment. Let's see what we got here. Just got ourselves another Ninja Boy. So you just got an Nincada. It's nothing we already haven't encountered before. This thing really is nothing special, so we'll just have Blocky take you out. Something we could potentially do is set up Sandstorm now that we have that on Blocky, as when there is a Sandstorm, Blocky's ability Sand Veil will make him more evasive. Could be a good tactic when using this Pokemon. Okay, you're going for Double Team. That makes me think that this is gonna tend to be a bit of a longer fight, depending on how this slash goes. I'm gonna go ahead and set up the Sandstorm. I'm not anticipating this fight to go on much longer, but it could be a good way just to try to deal with this thing. Because we're not able to hit it because of its evasiveness going up, the Sandstorm will just eventually deplete its HP. And just like that, it missed. That's definitely a good demonstration of what Sandslash is able to do. And I'm not too worried about you going up against a Coughing. So we're not able to hit these things for super effective damage because they have Levitate. But we can still hit them pretty good with Slash. Damn, critical hit. Good work, Blocky. That was very good. Thanks, mate.
I lost. I should camouflage in shame.
Aw, poor kid. Alright, how about we bring Liam to the front? He has not seen a lot of action in this session, and I definitely want to change that. Especially because of what I think this trainer has. This cool trainer, Jennifer, uses Milotic. So this Pokemon is the evolution of Feebas. This thing is a special wall, having really good special defense and pretty good special attack. This thing also becomes a really good physical tank if you're able to inflict a status ailment on it, because that triggers its ability Marvel Scale, which will boost its defense. So yeah, this is such a good Pokemon. It is definitely tricky to get your hands on this one, since it requires having to catch a Feebas, which is already a very elusive Pokemon, and then you have to max out its beauty stat to be able to get it to evolve. Yeah, this one definitely takes a lot of effort to get to it, but if you do manage to get one in your team, it is a phenomenal Pokemon. One of the best in the game. So we can grab some Asper Berries over here. Those, I believe, will defrost a Pokemon that gets frozen. So that could be nice to have for a bit later, especially given some of the fights coming up. This area, I believe, we're going to encounter some grass types. So let's switch Gladys to the front here. And also use our item finder, because I expect there to be some items hidden around the grass. Yep, you can find some zinc. That'll boost special defense. So let's see who could use that. Titania's a pretty bulky Pokemon. Let's give her more special defense, because I know that is a bit of a weak side to her. Is that she's all physical, very little special. So that could definitely come in clutch, depending on the battle we're in. We got Pokemon Ranger, Jenna. So while we're going through this route, some of the other things I want to mention. I did say that I was playing through Animal Crossing New Horizons again. Yeah, it's kind of funny the reason that I wanted to go back into that particular game. So a few nights ago, I actually had a dream where I was replaying one of my Animal Crossing games, and for whatever reason, when I revisited my town, like, all of the residents had moved away except for one, which I found very confusing. Especially because then I walked into the train station, and then I saw like a bunch of the villagers that I previously had were hanging out there, so it's kind of a weird situation. But yeah, that kind of got me feeling like I wanted to get back to playing Animal Crossing again. So I booted up New Horizons for the first time in forever. Like, it has been 3.5 years since I last touched that game. At least according to what Isabel said when I loaded the game back up again. It's also very funny because the very first day that I was replaying this game, I talked with one of my residents who's a hamster named Marlo, and he actually said that he wanted to move away, which is pretty funny considering that the dream I had before. And I actually did allow him to move away, and just today I visited a deserted island as I wanted to search for a new resident that we could add to the island, and I actually managed to find a good one. So there's a Kecleon over there.
we're just going to ignore you. We don't need to worry too much about these guys. So I managed to find a gorilla on one of the islands I visited named Boyd, and I feel like he would be a good fit for the island. From what I recall, I don't remember ever having a gorilla villager in any of my games. I have had monkeys before, but never a gorilla, so I'm definitely very excited to have him joining us. He seems like he'll be a good fit around the area. And I've also been doing a bit of renovation on the island to try and change up the look of a few areas. Because with the way my current layout is, I definitely feel like my island could use an upgrade. So it's been very fun getting to revisit that game. And in terms of some other things I've been playing, so I've of course been playing Soul Silver recently, given a certain Let's Play that I've been watching these days. And it's been pretty fun with the progress I've made so far. I actually managed to get the final badge in that game, and I'm pretty much preparing my team for what we're going to be doing in the last couple of fights in the main story. Also, one of the things that I found pretty interesting is I managed to catch a Dratini in the Dragon's Den, and I actually managed to get one with a plus attack nature. So I'm pretty much thinking like, well, that's another Pokemon to add to my team, because might as well use a Pokemon that has a very good nature like that. So yeah, I'll be training up our Dratini. I actually did manage to get it evolved into a Dragonair this morning, so we're making some good progress with it. And also be working on raising up the rest of my team, which is going to be taking a bit of a while to do. But hopefully we shouldn't spend too much time training. Nah, who am I kidding? It's a Johto game, so of course we're going to be doing a lot of grinding. But hopefully it doesn't take too long for us to handle most of our things we got to take care of. I think we're just about done everything here in the grass. And if we head down here, the rain fades away. So I love the detail here of seeing the clouds overhead being reflected in the water. It is just such a cool detail in this area. Like I said before, I love the visuals in the Generation 3 games. And this is a prime example of what they're able to do on Game Boy Advance hardware. It's so amazing. I love this game so much. Now, if we surf over here, that's just an area where we can make secret bases. Okay, there's nothing really nice about that area, but we got some battles over here we can do. Want a battle? So got ourselves a bit of an antisocial guy here, which I could definitely get. Oh man, I have so much social anxiety whenever I talk to people, and I work in customer service, so like, what am I even thinking? But I feel like I have been getting better at talking to people. It can just be kind of hard in a lot of instances, especially because I'm on the autism spectrum, so yeah, interacting with certain people can be a bit of a hassle for me, just trying to parse like the best thing to say in a given situation and just how to act properly when you're in public. That's just kind of the way things are. I lost! Yes, sir, you did. So let's get Liam back in the front. Also, Mickey has an item. Ooh, another rare candy. Very good indeed. So grab a Hyper Potion. Very nice. And we are actually at the precipice of this route. So you step over here. This will lead us to Route 121. We're not going to go any farther into this section of the game, but I will talk to some of the people around here, as there are a few other things we can grab.
So we can get a Mago Berry from this girl. So I believe she can give you some pretty elusive berries if you talk to her once a day. So definitely do that. And also there's a patch of dirt over here, so some good incentive to plant some berries here and then visit her every other day. And there's even more berry plants we can get up here. Ah, that's very nice. So yeah, a very reliable location you can go to if you want to grow some berry plants. But there's a certain area that we're going to be seeing pretty soon that's going to have even more opportunities for us to grow berries effectively. So we'll definitely want to visit that area in a bit. Oh, we got another rare candy here. Ooh, that is good. Very good. So we can grab a full heal. Very nice. And there should be one last spot on this route that we can explore. And that's right up here. Okay, there's another ninja over here. Let's swap in Titania to deal with this kid. I will adopt the movements of Pokemon and create new ninja techniques. It's kind of interesting to think of lore-wise. Like, obviously, ninjas are a concept in the Pokemon world. And as we have seen over the years, there have been a lot of Pokemon that are based on ninjas. Like we've obviously seen with Greninja, among a few others. So that definitely has some interesting implications. Like, are the concept of ninjas in this world... Like, did people start dressing and acting that way due to observing certain Pokemon, like how Ninjask and Greninja would move, and adopting those kind of techniques into their own like, style, you know? Kind of interesting to think about, like, a lot of the professions that we know in our day-and-to-day lives potentially being inspired by Pokemon in this world. Definitely makes you think. Ah, look at the Whittle Oddish. Luckily, we don't have to worry about catching you. So we got ourselves another hiker we can see up here. Who might you be? Are you perhaps searching for ancient ruins that are rumored to possibly exist according to legend? That's quite the mouthful. So we got Chip here. Should be an easy fight for Liam, given these guys tend to have ground types. Take him out, boyo. Also, God, we are so close. Look at Liam's level. We are so flippin' close. So yeah, I'm definitely feeling in the next session, we could potentially see Liam evolve. And I am very excited for that. That's going to be a fun time. It's also some art that I definitely want to draw coming soon, given what we can expect to see with Liam. We'll save that for a little bit. So by beating that guy, we get ourselves to level 34. Only 2 levels to go. I mean, I have rare candies, so we could potentially level up right now, but that's not necessary. And besides, we have plenty of opportunities to fight trainers coming up. So we have plenty of opportunities to train up Liam in a bit. So we can see yet another Kecleon over here by these ruins, which you can see is very similar to the ones we saw in the desert and in the ocean. Wonder what that's about. But yeah, I feel like this is a good stopping point here. we managed to finally beat the gym leader of Fortree City and made some pretty good progress in making our way through the Hoenn region. So this is a pretty good stopping point right here. So thank you for joining me in this leg of our Pokemon Sapphire Nuzlocke. And I will see you all again next week, where we'll be seeing what else we can find in the eastern section of Hoenn. Until next time, have a good day and take care.